Reece James spat at Kobbie Mainoo inside England's training base, and it wasn't just a moment of anger. It wasn't a heated disagreement that could be smoothed over with a handshake. It wasn't the kind of thing that stays between teammates. This is serious. Nothing like this has ever happened inside an England camp days before a World Cup qualifier. And there's a detail the FA still hasn't confirmed publicly. It all started with a betting ring that nobody was supposed to know about. And the worst part? The worst hasn't even come to light yet. Over the next few minutes, you're going to understand exactly what happened, why Reece James and Kobbie Mainoo ended up at each other's throats, and why this could completely unravel England's 2026 World Cup push before the Ghana match even kicks off. When something like this explodes inside a dressing room, 48 hours before a knockout fixture, it's not just a row between two players, it's a fracture that spreads through the entire squad. The stakes couldn't be higher. You've got Thomas Tuchel trying to build trust after taking over as England manager. You've got a group of players who are supposed to be unified heading into the most important tournament. And now you've got a situation where the FA has to decide whether to investigate misconduct or let it slide. And the behind the scenes of this is worse than it looks, because this didn't come out of nowhere. For weeks, there had been whispers, unnamed players, sudden lifestyle changes, vague references to financial opportunities that didn't add up. Jude Bellingham had reportedly flagged concerns with the coaching staff, but without specifics, nothing got formal. Then Kobbie Mainoo, just 19 caps deep, fresh out of Manchester City's academy, where everything is transparent and by the book, stumbled onto something he couldn't ignore. According to sources inside the camp, Mainoo discovered evidence of undisclosed financial dealings involving a small group of squad members. The whispers pointed to betting syndicates, third-party influence, arrangements that could have affected team selection or tactical decisions. When Mainoo brought this to Reece James in confidence, believing the captain would handle it with the seriousness it deserved, James saw it differently. He saw it as a betrayal of an unspoken code. The code that says internal problems stay internal. The thing is, Reece James has been England captain material since Euro 2024, and he's spent his entire career protecting the group's image and keeping the dressing room tight. But Mainoo wouldn't back down. It all came to a head in the treatment room adjacent to the main dressing area at England's training base, approximately 36 hours before the Ghana fixture. According to accounts from a physio present at the time, Reece James entered, closed the door, and the conversation turned heated almost immediately. Sources close to the situation allure that James made references to Mainoo's naivety, to disloyalty to the group, to the idea that you don't expose your teammates, you protect them. But Mainoo held his ground. He said he couldn't ignore what he had learned. That integrity had to come before squad loyalty. That's when it happened. According to the physio's account, James stood over Mainoo and made a spitting gesture. Whether actual contact occurred remains disputed by sources. But what matters is that it happened. The room fell completely silent. The physio left immediately. Within minutes, the incident had been escalated to Thomas Tuchel's office. But to understand why Reece James reacted the way he did, you have to understand what had been building behind the scenes. This didn't start with Kobbie Mainoo's discovery. For weeks, there had been tension simmering beneath the surface. On one side, you had Reece James and the unnamed players allegedly involved in the betting arrangements. Their priority was team cohesion, keeping things quiet, handling matters privately so nothing leaked to the press or the FA. On the other side, you had Mainoo and the compliance-minded members of the coaching staff who believed that integrity and transparency had to override squad loyalty. And in the middle, trying to hold everything together. You had Jude Bellingham, Declan Rice, and senior figures like Jordan Pickford and John Stones who knew that if this blew up publicly, it could destroy England's entire World Cup campaign. Hold on. Because what makes this even more serious is that one of the unnamed players allegedly involved is a regular starter who was dropped from the squad sheet for the previous friendly under a minor injury pretext. Insiders suggest that absence was actually a cooling-off period while inquiries were made. The reactions inside the camp have split the dressing room in ways that are hard to repair days before the Ghana match. Younger players like Morgan Rogers, Nico O'Reilly, and Jarell Kwanzaa view Kobbie Mainoo as principled, as someone who did the right thing. But senior figures are worried. Jordan Pickford and John Stones, players with decades of combined experience, are anxious that public conflict will invite media speculation and destroy morale right when England needs it most. Jude Bellingham, one of England's most gifted midfielders, is reportedly trying to broker a truce behind the scenes, but he's walking a tightrope. The coaching staff is divided too. Some believe Thomas Tuchel must report upward to the FA immediately, while others are convinced that a discreet conversation with James and the involved players is the only way to salvage squad unity before kickoff. Now, Thomas Tuchel is caught between two impossible decisions. If he reports the allegation to the FA formally, he triggers an investigation that could suspend or remove key players before Ghana, crippling England's opening match chances and signaling chaos to every other nation in the tournament. But if he delays or tries to handle it privately, he risks accusations of covering up misconduct. And if the story leaks, and these stories always leak, his credibility and the FA's are destroyed. The clock is ticking. The FA's compliance team has roughly 48 hours to decide whether to intervene before kickoff, and FIFA's sanctions window runs until the end of the group phase. Either way, England enters the Ghana match with depleted morale or fractured trust. And there's more coming. A group chat or voice recording between the unnamed players and a third party, possibly an agent or betting intermediary, is allegedly in the possession of the FA's integrity unit. If that gets released, it names everyone involved and could implicate coaching staff in knowledge of the arrangement. This is a moment that defines whether England's 2026 World Cup campaign survives intact or splinters before it really begins. The weight of what's happened inside that treatment room isn't just about Reece James and Kobbie Mainoo anymore. It's about whether Thomas Tuchel can hold a squad together, whether the FA can enforce its own rules, and whether the unnamed players at the center of this betting allegation can ever earn back the trust of their teammates. And look, this is far from over. This is the information going around so far. Over the next few hours, new details should drip out, and they could turn this whole story upside down. Over to you. Did Reece James protect the squad from a naive mistake, or did he obstruct accountability when England needed leadership the most? And is Kobbie Mainoo a hero for exposing the truth, or a liability to England's World Cup push? Write it down below. And if you don't want to find out about the next bombshell after everyone else, subscribe and turn on notifications now. Because when this fully blows up, you'll want to be the first to know, not the last.